Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I'm your host, Dino Decespedes, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engle. What's up, man?
On the road again, buddy. I'm feeling fantastic. It's another away match for your boy. But you know what? Pack the podcast mic, surely to the judging eyes of TSA agents, which is fine by me. I'm sure they see it go through and go, this dude's probably a podcaster. Great. I'm sure his opinions are very important. And maybe they are, but also maybe they aren't. Who cares? Either way, I'm excited to talk about an incredible match day 3 of the UEFA Women's Champions League with you.
But maybe they are. That's right. I'm with that. Good football, a lot of football. You know, the 9 matches packed into 2 days after we had 4 NWSL quarterfinal matches. That's right, like 13 if my math is right, in roughly 4 or 5 days. It's been a haul for your boy. Getting ready to hit the old finish line, the old checkered flag for this NWSL season. Champions League, though, still just getting warmed up. But I'm loving it. I'm loving the league phase, the overabundance of football, the surprises, the good performances, the mediocre-ish performances, the disappointing performances for fans of some team wearing some black hoodie that we'll talk about in just a few minutes here. With all that said, Mr. Ranango, where should we get started?
Let's get started with a beverage, my good man, because we always say, the UEFA Women's Champions League is a celebration of life.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Cheers to you. Cheers to the football. I am drinking, I'm not going to disclose my location, but I will say this. I'm drinking a beer called 394 Pale Ale from the AleSmith Brewing Company. It's a collaboration with Hall of Famer Anthony Keith Gwynn Sr., the absolute legend, Tony Gwynn, Mr.
Let's
Padre.
go.
Rest in peace to the legend, one of the greatest players who ever played. And I just want to say, it's named 394 because he hit 394 in the strike-shortened season of 1994, a Herculean effort. But he is also the owner of one of my favorite statistics in all of sports. Tony Gwynn faced Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Pedro Martinez, and John Smoltz. He faced those 4 Hall of Famers more than 300 times. Those 4 pitchers in their careers struck out more than 12,000 batters combined. They combined to strike out Tony Gwynn 3 times.
Oh, my God. What a legend.
Greg Maddux and Pedro Martinez never recorded a strikeout versus Tony Gwynn.
That seems unreal. I mean, he's one of my goats. He was one of my goats growing up. I mean, that was my guy. My actual number one guy. You might recognize him here. That's old Ricky Henderson and the Yankees.
Oh, let's
Yankees
go.
jersey. That's the old starting lineup. Ricky was my number one guy. Tony Gwynn, a Mount Rushmore guy for me, for sure. What a legend. Great beer choice by you. Well done.
You know, always trying to get the local when I'm out and about. But the question was, where do we want to get started? We're getting started with a beverage. We're getting started with some random baseball facts. You used the term checkered flag earlier, so now we're look at that. I mean, we're spanning all the sports here. But how about we get to the football? And let's start with the perennial contenders, Barcelona 3, OH Leuven 0.
This one was interesting. Almost snuck into halftime 0-0. I don't want to say it was ahead of the curve, or we were ahead of the curve, but turns out Leuven, not really a bullshit team. I mean, I think we've seen Barcelona, not really blow the doors off of every team, but Barcelona was clearly frustrated. I mean, you look at some of the stats, though, like the shot numbers, the touches in the box numbers, they're astronomical. I don't think Leuven recorded, let me see if I got this right. They recorded 0.0 XG, no shots, obviously no shots on target, no touches in the opposition box. Tough to beat Barcelona when you can't notch a single touch in the opposition box. But credit to Leuven, they were in passing lanes, they were in shooting lanes, regular block party out there. They were just kind of making it difficult for the ball to actually get all the way through to get to the keeper. So, maybe an encouraging performance for Leuven. I mean, before we get to start talking talking Barcelona, but I don't know. They got to be pretty excited with that's a pretty surprising scoreline.
I think it is surprising. I mean, because we know Barcelona is known. I mean, they racked up a couple. What I last year they beat Hammarby like 9-0 or something
Yeah.
insane like that. And Hammarby is a good team. Like there is parking the bus, and then there is parking the bus, removing the wheels, removing the steering wheel, removing the engine block, and you use the right term. It was a block party out there. They were just gonna pack it and see what happens. You know, they get the first goal. I think it was CGH created the own goal, which I think was the second goal. Oh yeah, because the first
Mm-hmm.
goal was the penalty.
Yeah,
Which
Vicky
you know,
Lopez,
if
true.
Barcelona, yeah, and if Barcelona's just living in your 18, your defensive 18, then they're eventually probably going to create a penalty. But we said before that match that if Leuven could just keep it to like a 3-0 or 4-0 loss, I know that sounds wild, but that's a good position for them. It doesn't destroy their goal differential, and I'll give you the credit because you were the earliest on it and I hopped right on board. But there, I mean, that happening gives them a better path to make it out of this league phase.
No doubt. And I mean, I joked about it, but this one almost did go into halftime 0-0. The
For sure.
Alexia's penalty kick goes in at 45 plus one. Kadia de Koister, 16-year-old from, I think, Belgium,
I believe so.
put a ball in the back of the net past Katakoi, who gets called back for offsides on a pretty close, not so close call. It was off by a good yard, but the offsides I love when it takes place right around the halfway line, and there's like plenty of room to still run, and plenty of work to do to have a finish. I mean, I don't know if I'm Leuven, I'm really. It's almost like taking points from Barcelona, a 3-0 loss in their house, where you kind of take it to the limit. And then you mentioned the CGH. The second one was an own goal. Obviously like
Yeah.
an incredibly dangerous ball. And then obviously Paredes beats you for the third one. Just backdoor. I mean, a great finish from Paredes. Wonderful ball in from Leon. At the end of it, Barcelona gets it done. But the thing that we talked about in the Tears episode, would some of these injuries, and Eva Pyre makes it back into the mix today, which was really, really great to see. She replaces Claudia Pina in the second half. But, Patri's still out. Sama Pariuelo's still out. Some players having moved on from last season, not totally replaced by household names. I mean, we could still be looking at a Barcelona that they might get there. They might get to the absolute mountaintop by the time we get to May in the final. But, if the wind kind of blows the other way and, so the football gods continue to, sort of like extend their wrath a little bit, I don't know. Barcelona could be in for a rocky rest of the tournament because they, to your point, they don't look like the team that's just simply dominating everybody else.
I think the term rocky is probably pretty relative here. I do
Yeah.
think I am very interested to see kind of like how they grow into the tournament. I think it was a performance by Leuven of we're not, like you said, zero shots, zero touches in the opposing in the attacking 18. Leuven wasn't exactly like playing to win; they're playing to not get destroyed. Um, I think Barcelona. I think it's going to be interesting to watch them have the role of let's get our tactics together. Let's get our chemistry together. Let's grow as this tournament progresses. And I have full faith that they will get to that mountaintop. That they will reach an apex where they're going to be extremely dangerous to win the entire tournament. I say this about Barcelona every year. It's not exactly a groundbreaking take, but I'm really interested to see it, and I think they'll get there.
Let's talk about the team that Barcelona's playing match day 4, a team that they could be playing again down the road once we get to the knockout stage of the tournament, Chelsea. So Chelsea get a big 6-0 win over Zenk Bolton on the road away. Scoreline felt a little bit cruel because, a little bit like the Leuven match. I thought, well, at least the first half was Zenk Bolton's, I think, their best half of the tournament so far.
I think that's right. I think, can you say that? I think we can. I think you and I can comfortably say this. I think we're in a good enough position in the football podcasting world to say they deserved better than 6-0. Maybe they deserved a 3-0 loss, similar to what
Hmm.
Leuven was able to get. They're clearly outclassed by Chelsea, and you're just going to get these gigantic performances from Karina Schluter, and we've seen it again. We've seen them get smashed by Lyon in previous tournaments over the last couple of years, and we still walk away from those matches going, "Man, Schluter's awesome."
She's so good. I'm just trying to pull up real quick. I just want to see how many saves she had. 14 keeper saves versus
There
Chelsea.
we go. Come on.
That's big time. Just big plays, big saves. On the Chelsea side, though, we talked a lot about Caterina Macario for the U.S. Women's National Team, kind of like needing to turn that goal scoring corner. We know what she could do holding the ball up, creating, just getting the ball, keeping things moving in the dangerous area. And we know she can score goals. But it had been a minute. And now it just kind of seems like that's starting to really, come in a big way, I think, for Macario. You couple that with Sam Kerr getting 2 goals in this one and not even playing that well, a couple of Sam Kerr
That's
moments
crazy.
early that just didn't, that looked very uncharacteristic, what you would expect after such a long layoff. But what we had been talking about with Chelsea, not cashing in some of these chances, obviously Myra Ramirez out of the lineup, Aggie Beaver Jones, can be great, but a tough player to kind of carry the entire scoring load. Macario and Kerr all of a sudden could make things really, really interesting for that Chelsea attack that kind of needed a shot in the arm.
I think so. And the announcer pointed it out, and my apologies, I don't have the announcer's name off the top of my head, but the announcer pointed out a couple of times that Macario was going to play in a deeper role. She's going to play in that kind of like attacking midfield number 10 ish role that I personally favor her in, that I think that she is really suited for because of her passing ability. But like you pointed out, she still has that scoring element to her game. And she was a supernova in this match. Like, we respect St. Polton. We were hoping, we kind of had some hopes that they would look a little better in this tournament, but she was dominant in there. And it's not, it's not like you're just gonna go totally walk over the Austrian champions. So I thought Macario looked incredibly encouraging. That was Sam Kerr's first start in 23 months. So of course she finds a way to get a brace, like you said, like still like very clearly rusty, not Apex Sam Kerr, not even close to Apex Sam Kerr, and she walks away with 2 goals. So the other part I want to point out about this is Ellie Carpenter looks as comfortable as she could possibly look. That opening goal where Macario plays Carpenter through, and then Carpenter whips it into Captain right on the forehead. Easy finish. I mean, they were cooking on all cylinders. And the last piece I want to talk about, I don't know if I can get this off the ground. I don't know if it's already off the ground or if people have already said it, and I'm just a doofus not paying attention. I want to call the trio the Chelsea Americans. The Chelsea Americans. Chelsea ends with an A and Americans starts with an A. That's what I'm trying to do here. Kat Macario, Naomi Girma, Alyssa Thompson. Obviously, Macario looked fantastic. Thompson drew the penalty. I think it was closer, like around the hour mark, near the end of the match ish. And Girma looked solid. She had a goal called back, but she was solid in defense. I think those three, when they get really cooking, I think Chelsea's going to be, even more dangerous than we already know they are.
Yeah, no doubt. Great to see Gurma out there, and I thought Gurma looked good. Her passing was sharp.
Yeah.
You already know, like her precision. Like she looked not like a player that was super rusty. So that was great to see. And I'm glad you mentioned it. Alyssa Thompson draws the foul. That's good for an assist in the ITC personal record book, as was
Right.
Macario's initial ball, Telly Carpenter, which you also mentioned. Beautiful ball, which looked like it was going to JRK, but then ends up going to Carpenter. And it was just like even as a viewer, I was confused. I couldn't imagine being a defender for St. Polten trying to match up with that. But match day 4, Chelsea will host Barcelona Thursday, 12 p.m. Pacific in the late slot. what do we expect from this one? Obviously, two teams working it out, right? Chelsea, I mean, I think we're learning a good bit about them. Everything had been going pretty well, I would say, except for the scoring. Looks like the scoring could be starting to come. We'll see. Barcelona, I think, trying to adjust. I mean, Patri and Sama Pariuelo, two huge pieces, like just almost larger than life kind of players. And they have the talent to kind of like fill those gaps, but things have to get moved around. I think what we saw even against Leuven, not the same crisp, unstoppable, inevitable offensive attack from Barcelona. So against Chelsea on the road, it's going to be an interesting spot for Barcelona to try to get right here. And, also playing, I think, for some top four machinations. At least Chelsea is on 7 points. Barcelona's on 9. They're probably in the clear, but Chelsea probably wants to walk away, definitely with a win, but at least some points here to kind of stay right in the top 4 periphery.
Yeah, this match is just a podcaster or a pundit's dream because in almost any scenario, we get to use the term a statement game. Because if Barcelona is able to, in this condition, Payor coming off an injury, missing Patri, missing Periuelo, bringing youngsters like Vicky Lopez online, and if they're able to notch a victory, we just say it's a crushing blow for Chelsea. It's disappointing to lose at home, to who is now who has been a Champions League rival. But if Chelsea wins, then people get to say, is this the Barcelona wobble? Are they going to be able to come back from these injuries? Just a lot of intrigue no matter what. Now, if we get a 0-0 draw, maybe there's less commentary to be had. I doubt that's going to happen. I'll throw out the early prediction. I think it could be a 1-0 Barcelona win because I'm just never going to be in the business of betting against Barcelona. And I think they find a way. But, that would also be a we don't call for managers' jobs on this show, but it would be a harmful result for Sonia Bonpastor. I think it would raise a lot of eyebrows. I think it would get some scuttlebutt going, to use an American term.
Oh, the butt will be scuttling for sure.
I don't think that's the origin of it, but all right.
Moving on. I think I love the point that a Barcelona win over Chelsea does much more damage to Chelsea than the inverse. I think that's true. Mentally, Chelsea does have a block when it comes to Barcelona. Maybe Sonia Bonpastor does have a separate block, but either way, there's some baggage that kind of needs to get dropped off and unloaded for Chelsea here. But it might just be too early. It might just, if I'm Chelsea, I probably would have wanted to catch Barcelona match day 5, maybe match day 6, once I'm a little bit more calibrated. Chelsea's starting to turn the corner a little bit. The WSL is not going to be a walk the way it has been in recent years.
Yep.
I think it feels like that's pretty much over. It feels like the parity at the top of the WSL starting to look a little bit like the men's Premier League side, which is really cool to see. For the first time, it really just does feel like it's up in the air. And I don't know, a Barcelona win here could be really interesting. This is easily the match of match day 4. I'm so pumped for this one.
Yeah, gotta be. 2 heavyweights, must-see TV. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's shift gears. So let's talk about another couple, let's call them light heavyweights. Bayern Munich 3, Arsenal 2. Am I reading that right? Is that possible? Did that actually happen?
I turned it off. Arsenal was winning 2-0. That was surely we have the score incorrect there.
You know what's worse? I've had to watch these, so most of them on a replay. I watched the first 45 minutes of this one and then had to take a break, go do something else, came back, a few hours later, and I'm just kind of riding high. And I think I might have seen something on social, or maybe it was on YouTube. It was like, it was some Arsenal player talking about the loss. And it was a player that was like a lot more prominent in previously. It might have been Wubben more. It was somebody, and I was just like, that couldn't have been against Bayern. It was.
Oh no,
it was very bad.
That's amazing. They looked great in the first half. Can we say that? They looked super tough. And you guys, you can't be light heavyweights. Arsenal cannot be light heavyweights. You're 2 times winner of the tournament, and you are the current title holders.
I know, but Leicester won the Premier League. Also, I mean, we're not quite there, but it just feels a little different. I mean, there was a couple things that really sent me for a loop in this one. So let's start with the positives. Emily Fox, 5th minute. I've been waiting, feels like 2 or 3 years to say this. A fox in the box situation. Even has a little fox hop to kind of like head it in the goal after me deflects it back. Marion also bangs one in about 20 minutes later to put Arsenal up 2-0. The first moment that gave me a little pause, the 59th minute, Renee Slagers makes a couple offensive subs at that point. And I'm like, all right, we're up 2-0. We're cooking. But I don't know. Chloe Kelly and Frida Manum for Caitlin Ford, Stina Blackstenius as the 2 at 59, up 2-0. I'm not sure if that's the move I would have made. You look at who Arsenal had on the bench, not a lot of defensive muscle there. But
Yeah.
I thought immediately after that move, Arsenal started to look a little bit less sure of what they were doing, where they were going, and just a really bad time of the game to kind of take half a step back because Bayern was all over it.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and I mean, yeah, I guess Arsenal's defensive depth isn't, you know, isn't great. I mean, you got Leia Codina on the bench there in this match, and I don't know if Slagers was like looking to land a knockout blow. I didn't get a chance to see her post match presser if she and had to answer any questions about that. I also just think that Bayern, and this can often be aided by one team getting a little tired or maybe focusing too much on the attack, but it just felt like Bayern was able to kind of discover a few things, like playing more direct and just kind of going right at Arsenal. I mean, that first match, or that first goal, pardon me, right around the 67th minute, it looked like Clara Boule and Alara were just having a team meeting behind the defenders as they're sprinting at the goal for Bayern's opener. And when I'm curious, like you had your doubts when the subs came in. When that first one goes in, you're still up 2-1 and there's 20 minutes left. But I have some inside information that maybe it started to feel a bit like scary hours out there in San Francisco.
Yeah, got a little spooky here, even in November. It's funny. I love the picture you paint with Bull and Alara just sprinting out ahead. It kind of reminds you of when like you see a couple like a group of CrossFitters like just running up the sidewalk, and there's two that are out ahead, and there's a bunch of there's 3 or 4 that are a little worse for wear chasing those two. That's what it kind of looked like in that moment. But when I saw Laura just kind of break through, and Clara Bull is just an absolute beast and an engine in and of herself. But when I saw that moment, I was like, why can't Bayern just do this over and over? We clearly can't run with them if they're super engaged and they're cutting and they're giving us a ton of angles to have to work with. It's gonna be a long day for that Arsenal defense, even though there was only 20 minutes left in the match, and that proved correct. The defensive point, I just want to mention it because you briefly touched on it. So Arsenal brings on Taylor Hines, 75th, at fullback. The only 2 other options left on the bench at that point, 25-year-old Leia Codina, who you mentioned, and then 17-year-old Sophie Harwood. So not a lot of moves to go to, and not a lot of defensive midfield muscle either. So Slager's a little bit hamstrung in that moment. But again, I don't think those subs worked. And ultimately, you have a 2-0 lead at Bayern. I think this is going to be absolutely a learning moment for Slagers. You have to kind of, I don't know, you've got to, the 3 points are so paramount in that moment that another goal or another, you got to realize that these are prime points, and the goal differential, it's not nothing, but to lose all the points up 2-0 in the 60s, tough spot.
It's a rough one. Yeah, they'll need a bounce back for sure. And on the opposite side, Bayern brings on Alara was a sub. She scored 5 minutes after she came on, and
Mhm.
Pernille Harder was a sub relatively early, 56th minute, in the second half, and that goal that she scored, the controlling touch that she took, and then she had to hit that little stutter step before she blasted the shot. I mean, that's real hoops right there. I mean, I'm sorry that it came against your squad, but I mean, obviously, there's no secret about Pernille Harder. She's 33 years old, but the Danish striker strikes again.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a superstar player that plays like a superstar every time Arsenal's on the other side.
I was
Pernille
just gonna
Harder.
say, did she have the Hattie last year?
Yeah, she did in
Oh,
like
okay,
12
okay,
minutes or something ridiculous. And it was
yeah.
also at Bayern too, so it was like the same. We're returning to the scene of the crime. I was reading up on Pernille Harder. You mentioned she's 33 years old. She's won her domestic league 10 years in a row. So she had a couple years at Wolfsburg, then
Mhm.
Chelsea, then Bayern. Basically, her team wins the domestic league pretty much wherever she goes. She's got her MBA. She's also involved. I think she either as the founder or on the board of a pretty cool nonprofit that supports women athletes. I mean, all in all, a very,
Let's
very
go.
impressive person and player. With all that said, I do not like Pernille Harder. I do not like
Yeah,
this
I would.
person. I want this person out of my life. I want this person out of the tournament. Every time I see her, she makes me pay dearly. I mean, it's pretty much just, and again, it seems to be just against Arsenal. But in all seriousness, a great player.
Yeah,
Another big performance. What a finish too. I mean, that finish fooled everybody. And another, I don't know, what can you do other than say, I want this player out of my life, and I don't like watching that player play anymore.
you know what? I don't blame you, buddy. But luckily, in this new format, in the league phase, there will not be a return fixture. So, unless once you get through, because Arsenal's still going to make it through. I know. Sometimes you can get a little down in the dumps about your
Fingers
Gunners.
crossed.
They're they're going to make it out of the league phase. Maybe Bayern will as well. So maybe you'll see them again. But hopefully, for your sake, you won't.
Yep. All right. Who does Arsenal have match day 4? None other than Las Blancas. Real Madrid won. Paris FC won. Surprising scoreline, I would say. I mean,
Agree.
especially considering what Real Madrid looked like coming out. Caicedo looked like an absolute handful. Redondo had a shot from felt like inches away that you just do not usually see or miss. It felt like Madrid was going to hang at least 3 or 4 on Pre-FC, but credit to Pre-FC. I think that matchup with Lyon in the Premier League definitely kind of hardened them and got them kind of up to speed, really, really ready to combat that Real Madrid attack.
I think that's fair. I think that it's one of those two things can be true at once. Where it was not close to Real Madrid's best match, but Perry FC stood up for that one. And yeah, they had a close match against Lyon like 2 weeks ago, or it was couple matches ago, I think it was. Um, and yeah, they looked way better than I expected. And
Mm-hmm.
in this tournament, I've been a little down on the non-Lyon French teams. We'll talk about PSG later, but I thought Paris FC was able to do some things to frustrate Real Madrid's attack. But I mean, you said it correctly. I literally gasped when Redondo didn't score that, and like it was right around like the half hour mark, I think, somewhere in that ballpark, where we call Alba Redondo the professional goal scorer. Like she nods that in, it feels like 9 times out of 10, maybe
Mm-hmm.
19 times out of 20. And so I was very surprised by that. Uh, Late in the match, when they were still looking for the equalizer, Linda Caicedo, I guess she didn't like her angle, but it looked like she was in
Oh
on
yeah.
goal, like one on one with the keeper, and she decides to play it across, and the pass gets broken up, and I was just like, I'm gonna need you to shoot that, Linda.
Yep. Yeah, that one was very painful. um, we talk about it, like it's funny because like we're down the stretch too with NWSL, and now we get to the point where I don't want to say XG goes out the window, but XG pretty much goes out the window, and it's for that specific reason. That is
Mm,
Linda Caicedo generating a very high XG chance for herself and doing nothing with it in a total brain
weird.
fart moment from
Yeah.
a superstar player that has made plays for years and years despite her super young age. So we're just at that point in time of the season where mentally we're going to start to see some of these breakdowns and on the flip side, some of these moments where some of these veteran players, kind of feels like they're turning back the clock, but in reality, they're just calm, locked in. They've been there 100 times before. Whether it's I don't know Fridolina Rolfo, who we'll get to, Ada Hegerberg, who we'll get to. Like these players just take these opportunities. I mean, cool as you like, and just get it done. And I think like a player like Caicedo will get there. And this was a very very tough match with Paris FC. Madrid outshoots them 23-7, but the shot on target advantage was only 5-2. Um,
Yep.
so Paris FC definitely held up really well. Was very physical. Sheikha Scott, who drew the foul, was a menace pretty much all day.
Yep.
And Real Madrid was kind of looking for somebody to kind of make it happen. Ultimately, like Caroline Weir had 6 shots, Caicedo had 6 shots, Redondo we talked about. The ball kind of knocked around a little bit, and then it took until the 90. What was it? 90 plus 8
90+8. Yeah. It was at
for
the death.
Caroline Weir at the death to kind of knock it out. I think it was the last kick, and it was a ball just kind of knocking around. Maria Mendez just, I think, side foot or outside of the foot, just moves it along to Caroline Weir a few yards away to kind of knock it in. But I think encouraging for Pre-FC. And to your earlier point, I agree. A little bit of an off day for Real Madrid. I don't know if it's ringing the alarm time just yet. They're still in a really strong position, but
Yeah.
not really the performance you wanted when you see Paris FC at home on the schedule going into a match against Arsenal.
It just got me thinking about the nature of this tournament and the nature of the league phase, frankly,
Mm-hmm.
where the favorites just aren't going to win every single time. Like Real Madrid has decidedly more talent than Paris FC, but that's just not the way sports work, and that's not the way
Yeah.
football and a league style play works. And I think sometimes I get just too caught up in that because I thought Real Madrid was going to bury Paris FC, and I thought Manchester United was going to smash Paris Saint Germain. And I was wrong on both of those. We'll obviously talk about United PSG here in a moment. But, that's like in a league play style, and like you always, and we've mentioned many times, all these teams are good enough to make it into this tournament that we're just going to get these surprises, and that's part of the joy of the tournament. And I will say, when you talk about like Linda Caicedo working her way up, and she still has room to grow, which should be scary for her opponents. Caroline Weir is going to take those chances, and she took that chance in the big moment to get it on frame and score it. And I would be remiss because it's just been in my head. But obviously, the greatest rap group of all time, or certainly the greatest hip hop duo of all time, Outkast, recently elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When Caroline Weir scores that goal, all I could think about is that if the Outkast song Roses was made today, Andre 3000 would be yelling Caroline, and he'd be referencing Caroline Weir because she's an absolute baller.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going to go there. I'm like, all right, duo. I wasn't sure if you were going to get clips, but it's got to be Outcast. It's got to be Outcast one. Can't be prisoners of the moment here. Um, Arsenal Real Madrid. This
It's a
one is
football
taking
game.
place in North London. Should be a banger. Um, I mean, you look at where the standings are. Real Madrid, they're in fifth, 7 points, +5. Probably feeling good. Arsenal's got an even goal differential, all the way down in 11th, only on 3 points, 1 win, 2 losses. Does Arsenal need to win this game against Real Madrid? I mean, 4 points. If they're on 4 points after 4 matches, and looking firmly outside the top 4 and maybe in that 9 through 12 band, that's a little concerning. And I actually ran myself through the thought exercise of like, how bad would this league phase have to be for 2025 to ruin what happened in 2024 for Arsenal? I landed on not making the top 12. Not making the top 12 would really hurt how I feel about 2024. But let me get all that out of my head. Arsenal or Real Madrid? Does Arsenal need a big 3 points here?
Oh, you know I love a must win. I mean, come on now. We're getting into all the sports cliches here. We're still. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that it's not early anymore. If they get a draw versus Real Madrid, they'll need a Leuven loss to be level on points with Leuven, which, I'm going to guess that Renee Slagers and company was not expecting that, would not be expecting that 4 matches into this league phase. I don't know, buddy. I think you might be convincing me it might be a must win, but that's a rough spot against Las Blancas, who are going to come out looking to kind of avenge a disappointing result for them. So we got 2 heavyweights coming off of disappointing results, doing battle in North London. I think that this is gonna rival Barcelona versus Chelsea as one of the matches of match day 4.
I can absolutely see it. Real Madrid also will be looking for some revenge, having been eliminated by Arsenal last year, knockout stage. But let's keep it moving. Manchester United, they took on PSG. You mentioned that a couple times briefly in passing. Big win for Manchester United, 2-1 over the Parisians. My biggest takeaway from this one, I think we have to start thinking about Manchester United as like a real contender. And I'm basing that on one thing. Usually, a team's good when they could have kind of a blah performance and still keep control of the match, take the 3 points, and basically grab a win against an opponent that's really decent in a tough competition.
I think that's totally fair. And I think, I mentioned this. Anybody who wants to watch our Manchester Derby preview with the great Crunk Chocolate, the producer of the Shades of Blue Network, a friend of the show, obviously. When we talked about Manchester United, I mentioned to him when I saw that lineup, and I was like, okay, so I guess you don't feel like you need to start Ella Toon, one of the best players in the WSL, one of the better midfielders in world football today. You're like, nah, don't need her against Paris Saint-Germain. I was like, it feels a little disrespectful to that French side. But like you said, they gutted it out. Jennifer Echegini, the Nigerian winger, hit a laser off the post way early in the proceedings. And I was like, okay. Well, I've already kind of started to question when PSG had that close result versus Real Madrid. Was I way too low on PSG? But even then, to your point, Man United still didn't really ever look like losing this match. Melvin Millar is just a supernova right now. She's an absolute beast. I thought the announcer did a great job what he mentioned when she scored her goal, the opener, that she had a lot to do after she got the pass from Riviere, and she did everything with it. It was one of those things where you always see like sometimes a winger or a forward, they need to do that move where they like need to like swim move and get past the defender, but then it doesn't work out and the defender just kind of clears it out. Nope, she executed the swim move perfectly. Millar gets on the other side of Griegenbach and then hits the finish past Mary Earps, kind of spoiling her return to Old Trafford, her return to Manchester. And yeah, I think you're right, man. Like we got to look at those Reds as certainly a team that's going to challenge for the top 4.
I think so for sure. So they're nuzzled into third right now, 9 points after three matchups, and they just look rock solid. They look really solid at every position, and even in some of those spots, like you look at like a Jade Riviere, who you're like, all right, well, let's see what's going to happen
Good player.
there. She was matched up with Gilbert most of the second half, and they went heads up for for a lot of it. Very entertaining stuff. I mentioned Friedel Rafa, who gets one of the goals. A perfect example of a player who a different player in that spot might be able to do more throughout the course of a match, let's say. But when you really need it, it's like, I mean, I'd be ecstatic if Rolfo was the player that's sitting there with that one look, at the one moment in the match where it could really kind of flip, and that's kind of what happened here. I mean, United just they seem to have all of the pieces. Doesn't mean they're going to put it all together, but all of the pieces are there. You can kind of like open the box and see like, all right, there is something here. Maybe not to win the whole thing, but certainly to finish top four, certainly to win, a knockout stage match and maybe find themselves in the semifinals. And then obviously WSL, I think that's an open field as well. Good time to be a United fan. PSG, on the other hand, I thought, again, a lot like pre-FC, a good performance, something you can kind of build on. I want to feel like their tournament's not over. I don't know. I'm still in that space.
Wow.
Maybe I'm a little bit too hopeful, but the Olga Carmona, we get a Carmona banger in this one. And I don't know, they just put up they put up a fight that I really liked.
It's going to be tricky. Okay, so who do they have coming up? So they got to play Bayern. Now they'll be home for that match. Is Paris Saint-Germain just going to be the team that as they're playing these good teams, they just keep losing close? And we're like, good effort. Like, sometimes you just kind of get those teams that are, and I've joked about it where I've said like, oh, they ain't played nobody. I talked about they beat Strasbourg, they beat Le Havre, they beat Fleury 4-0. Then they lose to Manchester United. They lose to Real Madrid. They get smacked by Wolfsburg 4-0. They beat Dijon. They lost to Lyon in league play 6-1. Like, they could just be like an 80th percentile team where they're able to kind of, beat these lesser opponents. And then when the rubber meets the road against the world's elite, they're just not able to get over the hump. But they do pass my very sophisticated test of when I look at their roster, I go, well, they got a lot of good players, but it's just I don't have a ton of faith. But you are absolutely right. I like to think I've been one of the Olga Carmona. One of Olga Carmona's staunchest believers over the last few years. And when she scored that banger before the half, I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And even then in the second half, United was like, okay, you can have the ball. We'll still find a way to win.
Yeah. Yeah, and that they did. I mean, Carmona gets a goal, Millar gets a goal. All your favorite players are racking them up.
That's right.
PSG, home match versus Bayern. Match day 4, they got to be looking at that. They're sitting on 0 points. But who's on 12? I think Vålerenga's. Vålerenga's yes. 12 on 3 points. They're 3 points behind Vålerenga. Now, this matchup versus Bayern, where they're hosting Bayern, obviously a tricky one. But you look at match day 5 and 6, it's versus Leuven and at Benfica. If you're PSG, you're looking at both 5 and 6 and being like, we can win those games. We're going to show up, we're going to unpack our bags, and we're going to try to win those games because we think we can. Which means that the match day 4 matchup with Bayern at home is a real pivot point. Like if you get beat there, you're already on -6. That's going to really just pretty much, I think, end it. You would need 2 massive wins, and even then, 6 points, you'd probably be behind a team with a better goal differential. So they really need a result versus Bayern, which kind of makes that one a must watch. I think maybe not at the level, but maybe at the level. We'll see. It could be an absolute banger. Tons of talent in that one as well.
It's a must watch in the terms of like I love desperate teams,
Mm-hmm.
playing each other. And like if you're Bayern, you're also in a spot where you're on 6 points, but because you got absolutely decimated by Barcelona on match day one, they still have a -4 goal differential. So,
Crazy.
they're not winning any tiebreakers like with other teams that are going to be level on points with them. And Volaringo, who you mentioned, who's on 3 points, hanging on to that 12th spot, they play St. Polten next.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going to go in there like gunning to get a win. So, I mean, the intrigue is the script crazy. The script writers, you crazy for this one. You're doing it so far in this league phase.
I love that. Um, let's keep it moving though. Another team that shares the league with PSG, Lyon 3, Wolfsburg 1. I was really excited for this one. Dare I say, the matchup I was most excited about heading into the match day 3. And this one didn't deliver.
Did not.
Like Barcelona outshot Leuven 43 to nothing. And I felt like that match was closer than Lyon Wolfsburg somehow.
It was an ass kicking from the opening whistle, man. I didn't expect it either. Like, if you're Wolfsburg, and I'm a guy, at a going to a conference tomorrow, sitting in a hotel room drinking a brewski with my buddy, talking about football. You can't allow Lyon to have 70% possession if you're Wolfsburg. You have too many good players. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
get like run over like that.
You also can't get held to two shots,
Right. Yeah.
two touches in the opposition box. Both of those shots attempted by Lynette Bernstein. Both of those box touches executed by Lynette Bernstein. Apparently, nobody else wanted to do anything in this one.
Wild.
A really, really poor showing. What compounds it, what makes it way worse, is one of the two breakaways that Bernstein gets. She carves through the whole defense and scores a goal.
Right.
Like,
Great pass
really?
by Pettimores on that.
Pettimore is quickly becoming one of my favorite Wolfsburg players for sure.
Yeah.
We really can't muster anything. So Bernstein could do this in a flash against Lyon, against all those defenders, just carves, I think it was Engen and Renard in the middle, Tarsiane out in the right, doing God knows what. But you're really capable of that. And that's it. It's just one and done. XG 4.0 to 0.7, shots 21 to 2, shots in the box 16 to 2, touches in the opposition box 45 to 2. And this is Wolfsburg.
What are we talking about? It's crazy. Eula Brand, we're Eula Brand supporters here. She's
Mm-hmm.
she's a great young player. She had an all right match. Right? Like, is that
Mm-hmm.
fair to say? Like, nothing amazing. She did her thing, like out on the wing, a couple times. It wasn't a Brand, you know, leaping off the screen match like we've seen.
Yep.
She created by herself 3 chances, one more than the entire Wolfsburg team, and she didn't even play that well. So I just did not expect an absolute demolition like this. But I guess if you're Wolfsburg supporters, and please, we have pals over in Germany, chime in if we're off base on this. But like, if you're Wolfsburg, maybe you're looking back at us and going, "Hey, man, you try defending Melchi Dumornay while she's playing like that, because she was a nightmare out there."
I mean, I keep saying that I have a list of my favorite players to watch,
Yes.
and Dumornay, and you could kind of tell by, I mean, if you listen to my NWSL episodes where I kind of ping pong between Olivia Moultrie and Rose Kouassi as my favorites.
Yeah.
Melchi Dumornay cut from that same cloth, and
Like
maybe
a combination of those two.
more skill. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say because Moultrie's so good, Kouassi's so good, but Dumornay could just do everything. She looks like a freaking Ferrari out there, just
Yep.
running, turning, bending corners, doing whatever she wants with the ball. Distribution's crazy. Her decision making crazy. And I mean, she can also crank one at any point. She can get around any defender. She can do everything. So it's like anything that she doesn't do, it's just almost like just because she doesn't feel like doing it. And that takes me to like my final Lyon point. Lyon was treating this one like an absolute sparring session. It's like, oh, let's try some stuff, right? So deep balls
Yeah.
in from Basha, let's try that. All right, over balls over the top from Heaps. All right, we'll try that. Chewinga, let's get Chewinga going. Try that. Different runs, like they really were just working stuff out there. It was pretty cool to watch. It was almost like watching like a training session. But then you look at Wolfsburg and being like, what the fuck? You guys gonna play? Like you guys want to try to do something? Or it was a real disappointment. But you got to give Lyon credit. Total domination on their part of a good team.
I mean, yeah, there's you got to look at it. That's at least part of it, right? Like we could be disappointed in Wolfsburg's performance, but turns out this Jonathan Heraldes, pretty good football manager, it would appear. So I think that could work out nicely for Lyon. The Lyon super weapon, it is charging right now.
Yeah. I the last note I had on Lyon is if they do meet up with Barcelona at the knockout stage, I'm putting half a take chip on this won't be Lyon no showing getting rolled against Barcelona again.
No chance.
I think if this team shows up, they're going to show up with a completely different mentality. Maybe it has to do with Hidalgo's, maybe it doesn't, but you could just kind of see this team is thinking differently, moving a little differently. Very, very, very cool to watch. I wanted to jump into one. We talked a little bit about Wolfsburg. I want to hit a quick Wolfsburg Manchester United preview because this one is in the Wednesday morning slot, 9:45 a.m. Pacific. I mean, this one kicks off match day 4. I'm very excited. Two teams maybe heading in different directions. Wolfsburg, Arrow slumping down, let's say, be friendly. Manchester United, Arrow firmly up, I would say. Like, I think, it's safe to say. What do we expect from this matchup? Can Wolfsburg kind of turn the table and against, we talk about the run of form over the course of a match. Can they flip their run of form? And then conversely, can they throw something in Manchester United that they're not ready for?
I think I'm not going to be prisoner of the moment here. I talked about it earlier where like these teams, they catch each other at different times. Like, Wolfsburg is a proud club with a ton of great players. It's going to be in Germany. The match is going to start in Wolfsburg's arena. It's going to do like the lights are going to flash black and black and green, black and green. The howling is going to be going over the loudspeakers. That goofy mascot with the giant wolf head is going to walk out for when they, when the players and the referees meet in the center of the pitch. This lineup for match day 4, it's just outstanding. This is another one where it's just like, how could you not be locked in for this? Like, this is like, and now you're going to get, it's not like desperate Wolfsburg, right? Because they still have a decent amount of points. Where are they sitting on the table right now? Sorry, quick reference. They are 6th, sitting on 6 points, still with a +3 goal differential. So they're not desperate, but they got to, like we've talked about, they're not used to just getting ran over like that. They got to get that taste out of their mouths in this competition.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Wolfsburg, as an outfit, is like the more experienced, like Champions League side. Manchester United, I'm not sure if they're a debutante or maybe in the league phase they're a debutante, or at this stage of this competition. Either way, much less experienced, but it does feel like, I don't know, there's some good experience on that Man United side from a player standpoint. Wolfsburg, sure. after you get past, I mean, they've got experienced players too, but a lot of young players as well. And they don't, for whatever reason, they don't play like an experienced side. They play like they have a little PSG to their game where it's like, I'm not sure if it's, imposter syndrome, being like, not the champion from that league, but they have the tendency to kind of turtle. They're going to be at home, and Manchester United, a side that I think is beatable. If you're Wolfsburg, you're not looking at that side and be like, we cannot beat this team the same way. that you probably looked at Lyon or you clearly looked at Lyon.
Yeah.
That makes for a very, very spicy match. I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, I think it has the potential to end up being a heater, and if it is a comfortable Manchester United victory, then I think
Mm.
Wolfsburg has to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, what is going on here? What do we need to do to change this? So I mean, another one. You just got to be locked into it.
Yeah, no doubt. And if it is a comfortable Manchester United victory, shout out to our guy Reaper. Reaper's going to be pumped. You
No doubt.
got in our comment section, got a little bit ahead of the curve. There's 9 matches to watch. Okay, it takes your boys a couple minutes. One of the co-hosts is on the road today, so give us a little grace. That also goes to our other friend of the show, Teacher for Life, who chimed in the comment section of the Crunk episode with something along the lines of, "Where's the Champions League episode?" I'm paraphrasing.
I I thought that was awesome. When I checked those this morning, I was like, all right. I was like, one, please watch the Crunk episode. Crunk is the man. Like, we're talking the Derby. But I made sure to quickly respond to those two and be like, yes, we're recording tonight. It'll be ready for the weekend. Always appreciate those two for staying locked in. They're the best.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you responding. I think I responded to Reaper. I was like, all right, chill. I got to watch 9 matches, and I know you're not watching 9 matches. Something along those lines. I don't care. Shout out to Reaper.
That's awesome.
Let's move it on. This one might have been tough for you to kind of swallow. Atletico Madrid 1, Juventus 2. Big come from behind win for the champions of Italy. I'll kick it to you, my good man. Where do you want to get started with this one?
I really respect Juventus for hanging tough because Atleti looked like they might unleash something in the first half. I really liked, Atleti did all the stuff that I like that they're able to do. That they could run up and down the wings, they could pass the ball through the middle of the pitch. 34-year-old Swedish defender Emma Kolberg nearly had that handball in like the first 180 seconds of the match. And I don't have anything against Juventus. Obviously, our good pal, the legend Leon Sanderson, played there, won a Scudetto there. But I have a soft spot for Atleti right now, and I kind of just instinctively root for them. But even then, I thought it was a good overturn by VAR because Kohlberg, the ball ends up going off her left arm that's tucked into her body. And on first watch, I thought it hit her right arm that was extended out. And I was like, okay, good call. Let's get this penalty going. But once I saw it kind of hit that left arm, I thought it was fair play to overturn it. And I was glad that the opener wasn't scored dubiously, if you will.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that it was the right call. I also agree that Atleti came out kind of shut out of a cannon. It reminds me of sometimes in those fight sports where there's a young up and comer and they come out and they just start they're out swinging and they're jumping and they're shuffling their feet and they're doing all the moves to kind of show that they're ready. And to their point, they jump out to a 1-0 lead when Amayur Sarriegi, that's a tough one for your boy. I can't imagine how hard it is for you. 39th minute puts Atleti up 1-0. And then Juve fights back, man. Emma Stolengoro, that free kick, fucking probably the goal of I think the match day. I would say the absolute rocket. And then Barbara Bonansea with a header, coming back where it came from, and on a day where Juve kind of outdone on a lot of the key stats. Atleti 69% possession. Atleti an 88-75 pass completion advantage. Touches in the box 30-15. Shots 13-10. Shots in the box 12-4. With all those advantages, the one number that stuck out to me: shots on target 6-2 to Juventus. Yep. So all of that, pomp and circumstance and dogs and ponies and histrionics, and you get 2 shots on target. You got to kind of try to, you just have to be a little bit more efficient than that. You got to be able to convert a little bit better than that the last quick stat I'll hit. I mentioned the pass completion disparity, the possession disparity, but even with all of that, Juventus enjoyed more possession in Atleti's half than they did in their own half. So they were just able to get the ball back, get it back forward, get it back, progressing, moving in the right direction. And again, super clinical, 15 touches in the box. They turned that into 10 shots and 6 on target and 2 goals. That shouldn't be, like that's incredibly efficient. And, on a day like today, Juventus looks like the experienced team. They don't look like the old slow team. They look like the experienced team. And a team like Juventus will just look like one versus the other, depending on the day and who the opponent is.
Yeah, that stolen Godot goal at near the death of the first half, that just felt like it changed everything. Mm-hmm. And I want to say like that feeling. I feel like all sports fans know it when they say something and then like 3 seconds later or 5 seconds later the announcer says it and you're like, huh, right? Am I right? And so I felt like that goal kind of changed the match. And I cover Seattle Reign Football Club in Seattle, and their manager Laura Harvey always says goals change games, and I think it's a truism. But after the match, Atletico Madrid manager Victor Martin, who to me, sidebar, looks like a very intense professional poker player. I don't know why. Like I think that, but I just, for some reason, I could like see him sitting at the table, like shuffling his chips. I digress. But Victor Martin said, quote, "The team performed well, but Juventus's goal changed the feeling at halftime after a very strong first half from us. We created good attacks, but we lacked the finishing," end quote. And so, I mean, you pointed it out that it was just, a lot of possession, a lot of moving the ball, taking some shots, but not getting a lot of shots on target, and just kind of the quality wasn't there. And this match kind of got me thinking about you saying either last week or when we did the tiers, you had said maybe Atleti is not quite at the level of making it through this league phase just yet, where I was like, I don't know, they could finish top 8. And there's still some time to see it. They're not painfully behind on the table right now. They are sitting at 10th.
They're in the mix,
on the strength of that win, and they have that +4 goal differential, even though they've lost the last 2 matches because they had that big opening win versus St. Polten. So I'm not giving up on them. Atletico Madrid, I still believe in you. We're gonna need to turn it around in this league phase here relatively quickly, and they are gonna have to do it against Twente. And I gotta tell you, Twente's tough, and I think that's gonna be another banger on match day 4.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to watch that one either. Another one that it's got me fired up. Atleti, they could get through on the strength of their defense. Outside of the top 4, Barcelona's allowed 1, United 1, Chelsea 1, Lyon 2. So outside of those 4, it's pretty much Wolfsburg that's allowed 3 and Atleti that's allowed 3. Everybody else is 4. Yep. I'm sorry, Vålerenga.
Oh, look at Vålerenga.
Yeah.
Tough.
It's Vålerenga and Atleti, not Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg's allowed 4. So on the strength of that defense, that could really be something. And again, in this one, for a bunch of the match, Atleti looked at least like a team as good. And, for
no doubt,
for not an insignificant amount, they look like the better team. So they're going to be competitive in all of these matchups. I expect them to finish top 12. I think they expect to finish top 12. They've got the firepower to do it. We'll just kind of keep an eye on what happens from here. A tough result, but I think they can take some stuff from this one as well. And to your point, some winnable matches down the stretch. A quick programming note. So Juve, who we talked about, they host Lyon, also in that Wednesday 9:45 a.m. Pacific early slot. That's going to be. I want to say that's going to be a little bit of a measuring stick match for Juventus, because Juventus has earned results, but it's now when you play Lyon, it's kind of like, all right, well, did you bullshit your way to those results, or are you like a team that could, like play Lyon even into the 70s, into the, like have points on the table for the last quarter of the match, because if Juventus is legit like that, then this one will be close. If it's a 3-1, 4-1, another Lyon Wolfsburg kind of situation, then we know what to take from that.
I'm trying to stay hydrated here, and I know we're almost done with this episode. We've been going a little while. Let me just crack this because I got something important to say about this match. Juventus versus Lyon. I know it's going to be in Italy, but let me just tell you something, buddy. Bad news for Juventus. I think, I don't know. I don't think this one, maybe it is a measuring stick, and it might be one of those that if you lose 3-1, you're like, hey, I feel good about where we landed on that measuring stick.
And there's a lot of different types of 3-1s, as Lyon and Wolfsburg will tell you. We'll see what it looks like. I want to scoot ahead though. A fun one from match day 3, a sneaky fun one. Benfica won, FC Twente won. The stats on this one pretty even. I think if you had to kind of give a nod one way or the other, I think Twente kind of edged out on most of those key stats, edged out Benfica. But Benfica super live, super locked in. I continue to marvel at how different this team looks physically. They look now. They look chippy. Like 2 years ago when we started covering this tournament, people could not wait to start bullying that Benfica side around, just pushing them around. And now it's like they want all of it. Like it doesn't matter. FC Twente, who in my mind is a big, physical, tough, mature team. Benfica's like, fuck that. Like let's throw some bows in here and like let's see who's still standing after that. So that was cool to see. But on the pitch, football wise, Benfica also really solid. Well deserved draw. I thought both teams played really, really well. A fair result because I think both teams will be a little disappointed that they didn't walk away with the win.
I think that's right, but I do think splitting the points, I think, was the right result. Mm-hmm. I honestly think if either side would have scored in the last 15 minutes, the other side probably would have scored another equalizer and they just would have finished 2-2 because there wasn't a lot between these two teams. You're totally right on the physicality of the battle. Lucia Alves will fight you. She is so scrappy. I love watching her play. She plays with attitude. Yeah, very good. Player of the match on FotMob. Looked like she had an early goal, 24 seconds in, but Martin Prieto's called offside, and I thought the announcer was right. It was close because there was the wing back way out. Depending on where the left back looked like she may have been keeping Martin Prieto on, but it was kind of that weird angle where it's like above but from the side. So I guess it's hard to tell from the broadcast. Shout out to the announcer Matt Davies Adams, who I thought did a great job in this match. Sneaky contender for maybe my favorite commentator of the competition so far. But yeah, man, this was a football game, dude. Like I loved every minute of this. All 1-1s are not created equal. This felt like a top tier 1-1.
Yeah, it was like a 1-1 slugfest. And again, I mentioned you look at the stats, pretty 20 slight nod, but like pretty even. Almost every number that you look at, great to see. Benfica had been kind of waiting for this performance. Benfica had kind of like not really shown all the way up. Twente on the other side, good showings for sure. We knew this was going to be a tough one. Probably, we should have been able to predict a draw here because it was like the total logical outcome. But fun players on both sides. Joe Royd, I mentioned Sophie Proust, Alika Tuin on Twente. Like they're just like I very much enjoy watching these players. Lucia Alves, I think she'll fight you, but she's also an excellent football player.
Very skilled.
I think both of these teams. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna. Twente, obviously not. I think let me see where they're at. Twente is sitting at
just outside looking in. I believe they are 13th.
13th. Yeah, Benfica's 15th. I'm not going to close the door on either of these teams. I think a win is on the table for each. And now, if you stack a win and a draw, all of a sudden you're heavily in the mix. And I think both of these teams capable of results like that.
I think that's fair. I mean, every time I watch Twente, I come away impressed. And then another quick shout out to Matt Davies Adams, who had to point out, and now I've heard a couple different pronunciations of her name. I think I'm going to stick with Sophie Prusht. I think that's what I had heard. Like I had tried to watch some broadcasts like from the Netherlands. Please, if we have any Dutch pals, drop in the comments. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I've heard Proust. I think I've heard Prost, and I think I've heard Prusht. So put us on game, please. But the announcer Matt Davies Adams had she was on the ball. She just had a delightful turn, just like a spinning turn, like in space to create a little more room for herself. And at one point, Davies Adams just says, Twente should just get her on the ball as often as possible. I was like, yep, because she is such a baller. I mentioned last time, anybody who was looking to buy Sophie Prush stock, too late. I bought it all. She is she's 19. She's just an absolute menace out there. She plays with such style. I want to watch her play every time Twente takes the field.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the highlight plays just jump off the screen. And I think her age makes it super duper exciting. Quick mention on the schedule: FC Twente, they host your squad, Atletico Madrid, in the lone early spot, Thursday morning, 9:45 a.m. Pacific. What are you going to be looking for from those two teams?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a styles clash. I think Atletico can play some physical football. I'm trying to think now. Obviously, I think Twente is better than. I hope I'm not mixing all this up. But remember when Real Madrid played Celtic in last year's competition, and Celtic hung like super tough and tried to muck up the game. They ended up kind of conceding a few extra goals late. And obviously Atletico's not quite where Real Madrid is, and Celtic is not quite where Twente is. But I think there's going to be a little bit of that in the mix, where it's like we're going to come out looking to slow you down with physicality, and Atletico's going to say we're going to try to run around you in all the spots that we can. And I think it's one of the beautiful parts of football, and one of the staples of the Champions League in general.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because Benfica has a lot of that to their game, but I kind of would give the slight edge to Atleti's skill position players kind of on the outside. So it's interesting. And Twente is a team that's they've seen so much already. They're so experienced. It's going to be a really fun matchup to see if Atleti can kind of punch up like maybe one division and hang with Twente, go on the road, and then come away with something. Very excited to see that. Quick mention, Paris FC. They're going to be hosting Benfica Wednesday, 12 p.m. So we'll be locked into that one. That's a fun matchup. That one's kind of like both those sides really need the 3 points. I think a loss for either side kind of sends them home, and even a draw, probably bad news for both of those sides. One more match though, match day 3 to kind of hit. A little bit of a disappointment as well. Roma 0, Vålerenga 1. What do you remember from this one? What do you remember? This one felt like it was a year ago.
Time flies when you're having fun, buddy. Look, Vålerenga, they are, we mentioned they needed a win. They've been playing these close matches. It seems like Vålerenga's not going to do anything but play close matches. They end up, let me just make sure I'm not totally butchering this. Yeah, it was, in my mind, I keep looking at him saying, they only have 3 points. Didn't they draw Wolfsburg? They have the absolute gut-wrenching loss to Wolfsburg at the death last match week.
Mm-hmm.
But they're able to kind of get, pick up the 3 points here. Gutsy performance from them. They were in the Champions League last year, and they really kind of, it was your classic. They needed something here, and it's terrible news for Roma, who seems to be in dire straits at the moment.
Yeah, Roma. I mean, I wrote that in my notes. Roma not ready yet. Valerenga not done yet. I think that kind of encapsulated this one. Roma was close. Interesting play. Interesting players. Manuela Giuliano looks like she's one of the varsity players, kind of slumming it a little bit with the JV. Unfortunately, players I like. Like on Roma, like individually exciting players, but I mean, not really able to collectively put it together and turn it into actual chemistry. In this one, Amelia Javi goes down with an injury, seemingly non-contact, so you hate to see that. Julia Dragoni comes on in her stead, and then Valerenga gets the goal right around the 30s. Comes from Stina Brecken, a banger. Like, I liked that Valerenga was getting Ola Tveten a little bit more into the midfield, a little deeper, getting her touches a little bit earlier in the possession. I think she was involved in the build-up there. Valerenga's a little bit like Twente, not as far along, but a championship side, mature, experienced players that are not going to give away a match. The way a team like Roma that's got some younger, inexperienced players, new a lot of changes at one time. Teams like that love to give away matches. PSG, another one, good, like skilled, talented, doesn't know how to win yet. And I think the Roma is firmly in that category, and Valerenga firmly not in that category. I think that's the team that knows how to win. They're often outmatched in the Champions League, but on a day like today, they're going to go to Roma and walk away with 3 points.
Yeah, these teams, there is quite a bit of building to do. Like we've obviously liked Roma in years past, a little bit of turnover on that side. I mean, obviously you have a Valentina Giacinti sized hole in that attack now that she plays at Galatasaray in Turkey.
And in my heart,
one of the ITC faves. We miss you, Valentina. It's not Roma's year. There's some building that needs to happen. There's some chemistry building. You got to hope, like, can you hold on to Giuliano and build around her? I think that's got to be, what they're looking to do. But there's still things to happen here. They got to go. Before looking at the schedule, Roma would have been like, okay, we're going to play Leuven in Belgium, but we're a bigger club. We have more experience. Leuven's the debutants. Now they got to be looking at that fixture going, oh boy, we need a win in this spot.
Yeah, Leuven's looking at that fixture being like, Roma, we got this. We got to get this win. And they kind of do got to get this win because match day 5 and 6, they go to PSG, speaking of Leuven here, and then they host Arsenal. So they are looking good. They're on 4 points. They got this Roma match looming, but you don't want to get blanked here. You don't want to lose the momentum, start to backslide, and then find yourself in a position where you need a result at PSG or versus Arsenal. But sticking to Roma, I think Roma's tournament's just about done at this point. They haven't really been, the matches that were winnable that they needed, not able to get it done. Even this Leuven match, I think, is going to be really tough on the road for sure. Despite how they felt about it before, or when the initial schedules got dropped. But I'm not expecting too much from Roma, unfortunately. This might just be like an off year. We might see them back next year, a little bit of a reset. And I could see them kind of switching gears and focusing in domestically. And then on the flip side, Leuven, I don't know, this might be potential coming out party. This might be the point where they turn the corner. A win here would have that place absolutely rocking and would pretty much all but sew up a top 12 finish for them. That'd be incredibly exciting.
It'd be gigantic, in their debut in the tournament, a team from Belgium, like kind of like making their way, through like European women's football. It would be massive. I mean, this is why the UEFA Women's Champions League is a celebration of life, because we get these upstarts. We have the juggernauts. We have the mid tiers who are fighting to become juggernauts. We have the big name clubs who are trying to fight off obscurity or falling down from being juggernauts. I mean, we got everything you could possibly hope for in this tournament.
Yeah, can't wait. We're only halfway through the league phase. Just super pumped. I cannot wait to see this all the way through. But I want to hit a quick episode count. Well, actually, before I do that, just for posterity's sake, Vålerenga, St. Polten, that takes place Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific in the late slot. We've successfully done it. We covered all 9 match day 3 matchups. We mentioned all 9 match day 4 fixtures looking ahead. So let's get into it real quick. Episode calendar, just to catch everybody up into the NWSL. We'll be back after this weekend's semifinal action. Oh boy. And then we head to the NWSL final, where your boys found out this week we'll be in the building covering all the festivities, all the pomp, all the circumstance, all the dogs, all the ponies. Into the Champions League returns next week. Well, after match day 3, before match day 4, we will be back. I'm sorry. That's where we're at right now. We'll be back after match day 4 to talk about the match day 4 action. Look ahead to match day 5. Make sure you're subscribed and following YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. If you want to support the show, tap the join button on YouTube, like new friend of the show, Kayla did. Shout out to Kayla. Let's fucking go. Patreon.com/into the channel. Another great way to support. You can also browse some sick into the channel merchandise, all of that and more available via the link in the description of this episode. And with that said, I think we did it. Is there anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
Shout out to Kayla, who is a friend of the Shades of Blue community, supporting our little pirate ship as well. So we greatly appreciate that. I think that's it, man. I think we have covered everything we could possibly cover. I don't think there's anything left unsaid. I don't think anybody could possibly teach us anything of this. No, that's not true. You guys can always drop some knowledge. What did we miss? What players should we have talked about? Please educate us. Let us know what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And shout out to the friends of the show. We probably don't mention them enough, but Mac Daly, MLS. You know who I thought about recently? How about Vespa? I'm like, I hope our guy Vespa is doing well as I was watching Benfica. So shout out to Vespa wherever you are. Good vibes headed your way.
For sure.
Carlo, you know what time it is. Gretchen, so many friends of the show that chime in week out, week in, week out. Really appreciate you, Justin. You already know what time it is. Just want to echo Grant's point. We definitely appreciate the entire budding community around the show. And we're just thankful. So thanks. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. Thank you for watching, listening, hanging out. If you enjoyed the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, make sure you kick it with us each and every single week. Like, subscribe, follow, leave us a glowing, positive, ecstatic review wherever you like to watch or listen. And a huge thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grant Engle, for being my champion of champions, the only Champions League champion co-host that I would champion with. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. Couldn't do it without you. Let me just get these in here real quick because I meant to mention it. So I mentioned Matt Davies Adams. What a sneaky contender for my favorite announcer of the tournament. Let me just mention 2 others in the Barcelona Leuven match. Ellen Ellard, who mentioned on that offside call for De Koister, just a yard or 2 offside. Kind of tongue-in-cheek. I thought that was great. Ellen Ellard, sneaky contender for my favorite announcer of the tournament. And also Emily Herbert, who called that Atletico Juventus match. Thought she had a great call as well. Dare I say, sneaky contender for my favorite announcer of the tournament so far. So, but you guys, everybody who supports the show, not sneaky at all. Absolutely my favorite people on the internet. I know I've said this many times, but we have managed to find what I believe is the only friendly corner of the internet. We appreciate
Mm-hmm.
you guys so much. Again, like I said, let us know what we missed. Tell us what teams we should be looking for. What tactics did we overlook here? We always appreciate you dropping knowledge in the comments. Thank you for rocking with us, and we will see you all next time.